Hey everyone, this is Leanne from Of Love and Shiplap and the founder of Sub That Tutorials and More. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on any of our tutorials, and check the video description for a link to the new Sub That US mobile learning library app. Inside of our app, you can enjoy all of our basic tutorials for free that are neatly organized and much easier to navigate. And you can also choose to upgrade for exclusive content access and communities. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to create the custom printed neoprene coaster. We are going to be using the iColor 550 white toner printer with this, and one of my favorite two-step medias, iColor Select Ultra Bright. Now, neoprene koozies are all of the rage. I don't personally understand the obsession, but they are a high profiting item that is perfect for bulk sales, also perfect for promotional material sales. They are incredibly quick and easy to print using the iColor 550 printer and your preferred two-step media of choice. I'm using the one I always have on hand, which is the iColor Select Ultra Bright. I like this one because it has really great stretch and good washability, as well as being relatively affordable, coming in around $2 a sheet, which is very reasonable for media for this type of printer. Now, if you have not checked out our video series on everything that white toner can do for your business, be sure to check those other videos out. We have shown tutorials on everything from dark cotton garments and mylar balloons to wooden signs and window clings and temporary tattoos. The capabilities of this printer are literally unmatched by anything that is on the market, and the diversity of medias that are available give you so many options for anything you might dream up. I love that this printer has literally no maintenance. I believe I've had mine for 3 years now, and the only thing I've ever had to deal with was one paper jam one time. That's it. I have never had any fuss about it. I have left it for months and turned it back on and prints perfectly every single time. So if you want something that is highly versatile for your business and allows you to do everything from cotton garments to keychains and koozies and who knows what else, then this is a printer you're going to want to check out, and we've got some tutorials to help you along. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to kick it over to the computer where we're going to work in our ProRip software to get everything set up to print our koozies. We're going to go ahead and use the iColor ProRip software to set up our design and get it printed with our iColor 550 white toner printer. But before we do that, I always like to double check the instructions online for the media that I am using. Now, you'll find a QR code on the box that your media comes in, which you can scan and will take you directly to your directions, or you can simply come to icolorprint.com, click on the support tab, knowledge base, and come to the textile transfer section here and then find your media. Now, this is where you can find the most up-to-date instructions in case something has changed. And that's one of the reasons why I always like to double check over here. If you've seen some of our previous videos, then you know that I'm a big fan of both the iColor Select and the iColor Select Ultra Bright. I have used the same settings for both of these. When I look at the settings here for the iColor Select, we see 310 degrees, 120 seconds, pressure 8, and then later on in the instructions it gives you like a dwell time of 4 or 5 seconds. I have followed these instructions and always had a perfect marry with my Select and my Select Ultra Bright without issue. But when I went to pull up the Select Ultra Bright, I noticed that there was 2 sets of instructions. One is for version 3 and one is just the other ones. When I click on those, we see a completely different temperature, time, and pressure. Same for the version 3. Now, I haven't actually ordered Ultra Bright in probably 2 years because I had stocked up and I just ordered some more. And I did not even know that there was a version 3 out. And I never would have caught that on the box. I never would have even thought that maybe something had changed had I not come here and double checked for those directions. So a quick little lesson there to be learned. What I love about the instructions from iColor is that no matter what type of media you're using or what printer you're using, it provides in-depth instructions. And if you really struggle with your printer or you feel like it has too much of a learning curve, my number one recommendation is to go and actually read the instructions and follow them step by step and review the tech tips and, the issues that it highlights that you may experience if you're doing something incorrectly in your process. I don't know of any company who puts this much effort into trying to make sure you are successful using their product. And that's one of the reasons why I love the iColor white toner printer, aside from the fact that it's just incredibly versatile. So that's my number one recommendation. If you feel like you're struggling, come and review all of these instructions because these are really in depth for a reason. It is designed for your success. And I would say that 99% of the time, if someone is having an issue, it's because of something in their process that isn't being followed in these instructions. So we're going to be using the new Select Ultra Bright version 3. I don't know exactly what the difference is between the old version and the new version, but one of the reasons why I like Select Ultra Bright is because the price is great, first and foremost, per sheet, and also because this one has really good washability, more vibrant colors, a nice stretch, and it gives the best bang for the buck when it comes to printing on any type of apparel item and other items like we're doing today with our neoprene beer koozies. I also have used the Select and Select Ultra Bright printing balloons, so be sure to check out our other white toner tutorials to see all the fun uses for this type of media. Let's pop back over to that ProRip software. The first thing that you do inside of your ProRip software is select the appropriate cue for the type of media that you are printing. This is, of course, provided in the instruction steps as well. We're going to be using our overprint cue today. So I have that selected for my cue tab over here on the left side of the screen. After you have selected your cue, always double check this little graphic down in the bottom corner because this tells you how your cartridges should be aligned. I have made many mistakes where I have not double checked my cartridges and forgotten that I did some other type of project before and ended up wasting media and toner, all because I needed to switch my cyan and my white, or I needed to switch the black for the white or whatever. So double check that graphic so you don't make that mistake. It takes a whole 3 or 4 seconds to swap out your cartridges to make sure they are done correctly. Next, we're going to come to this drop down in the middle of your screen, and you're going to select the paper type which you are using. In this case, I am using our iColor 2-step Select Ultra Bright. I do not want the ones with holes or stripes. I just want the regular old one because we don't need any rasterization with our design today. Now, I already went ahead and grouped my images because I'm doing these beer koozies, can coolers, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to open that up by clicking on the green plus sign for open. And I will come down here to my digital designs and find my beer koozie logos. If you import a graphic just as an individual graphic, you are able to go ahead and duplicate that on your page. You can do that under Job and selecting Duplicate to make some additional ones on your page, and you can also adjust the overall size. If your imported graphic is too big, you will notice that you'll see this red around the edges. You obviously don't want that. Now I sized mine to exactly letter size so that I wouldn't have any of those issues. We can't really see anything here because it is in fact all white and the background of our screen is white as well. But you can choose to do like our grid visibility, or you can do a soft proof with your color replacement up with these little icons that we see here at the top that sort of look like a bird. I want to come next to this color adjust, and because I'm doing this as a 100% white graphic, I'm going to move that coverage all the way up to the 400% because this is a solid white graphic. Next, I want to deselect Enable Ink Removal. This function is whenever you have a transparent or semi-transparent area, it's going to help it phase out by adding these holes and really just kind of helping it look more seamless on your garment. I don't need that with this particular project. My design doesn't have any semi-transparent areas anyways, but it's just good practice to deselect that just in case the software picks up sort of a half pixel around the edge of your graphic. You don't want that to end up printing. So once we have those two settings set, we're going to click OK. Now, I reiterate again, you don't need to go all the way up to 400% white when you are doing something that's colored. But because we are doing solid white, we want to make sure that we have this turned up. Over on your page tab, you're also going to see which tray is recommended for your media. Now, all of this is up to date within the ProRip software, which is one of the advantages of using this program. You can, again, find this information within the instructions if you have any questions or if you're using a different type of printer. We're going to go ahead and pop over to that white toner printer so we can get this sent off to print. All we have to do is select it and click on our little rainbow printer icon, and off it will go. On our ProRip software, it shows us that this media, the Select Ultra Bright version 3, is to be used in our bypass tray. So that's the tray that pulls out in the front here. Tray 1 is the one that's at the bottom. It's conveniently labeled for us, print side face down, to help you avoid any errors. Your A sheet is this one that looks like frosted like, and you'll notice, see how it's shiny on one side and very matte on the other? The matte side is the side that we print on. So we're going to do face down, right into our printer. Always wanting to make sure we get into those page guides, and you can adjust them a little bit as necessary. We'll go ahead and send this to print. And this will warm up and start spooling the job, and then it'll go ahead and print it. When you're doing multiple prints, this has the ability to print between 40 and I think 50 prints per minute. It's very fast. So it's great that you can just print multiples at once and not have a whole delay from the processing. That's really just on the initial print that's going through. And you'll see it come right out the top there. And so this is just our toner. We still need to add our adhesive. That's the B sheet. That's called the marrying process, which we're going to do over on blue, the Fusion IQ. We are over here at blue, the Fusion IQ, and we already have our heat press warmed up to that 320 degrees. Our pressure is set for us. It doesn't show up until it's closed. And then our time of 135 seconds to marry our iColor Select Ultra Bright media. Now, the very first step with any two-step paper is that you need to get that bottom platen warmed up. And since it doesn't heat itself, the way that we do that is by simply closing our heat press and letting the cycle run down 2 or 3 times. Now, I've already heated mine up because I've already been marrying a few of these transfer sheets because I'm doing a bulk order of these koozies. So we're just going to do our final one together. So you're going to let this run completely down. You basically are trying to warm this up for 4 or 5 minutes. And this, with it being closed, is just going to transfer that heat into that bottom platen so that you're going to get the best bond, I guess, with your adhesive and your toner. Now, while that's running down, let me tilt your head down a little bit. We have our A sheet, looks fantastic, and then we have our B sheet. Now, your B sheet is printed on the back so that you know that that's the back. And the trick that you want to do is line them up, and then in your bottom corner, if you're left-handed, do the other corner. You're going to just fold the corner up just a little bit. You don't need to do a lot. The whole purpose of this is so that when you go to peel, you've got something to easily grab onto and help give you that nice, smooth, diagonal peel back, which is what we aspire to. So once you have that all set up and your platen is warmed up, you can go ahead and get this on and cover it with a cover sheet. So as I said, I've already heated my platen up adequately. You don't have to do it every time, you know, if you're doing multiple transfers. But I'm going to cover this with a coated wax paper so that the adhesive doesn't end up on my top platen. It will absolutely transfer to your future substrates if you do that. It can come off. You can peel it off with like tweezers, but it's not always easy to get it off. So always use that cover sheet. And this is a coated craft paper. You can order these coated craft paper sheets from iColor. That's what I do. They are, you can use them basically until they fall apart. They are specially coated so that they won't stick to your white toner transfer, to the adhesive, and so on. And that's what you want when it's all said and done. So we have to let this marry for 135 seconds at 320 degrees with a medium firm pressure. As you can see at the top, the target was 5, and with the paper on there, we're at 6. That's okay. It's just a little bit more. It's not going to hurt the transfer. You want to avoid having too light or too firm pressure, however, because either your adhesive won't bond or your adhesive is going to ooze out on the sides and or in the small little spaces of your design and not give you the results that you're looking for. Now, the marrying process is one that trips a lot of people up. And I do have a video on foolproof marrying where I use just a really generic type of heat press. And I show you that it's absolutely possible, even without a higher end heat press, to get great results with marrying. It's all about understanding the pressure of your heat press and making sure that your temperature is accurate. So those two factors are critical. And once you really understand how to gauge your pressure when you close this clamp down, everything about creating is a lot easier. Not just doing something like this, but also any type of substrate. So be sure to check out my foolproof marrying video if you find yourself struggling. Now, I like heat gloves. Some people are good without them. I'm not. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide them both on, and I'll tilt you guys down so you can see what we're gonna do here in just about 10 more seconds. Now the paper needs a few seconds to dwell once you open up your press, and I'm gonna show you what I do that works every single time for me. So I open up my press and I go with a little bit of pressure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I lift, put it back down, grab that corner, slow, steady peel, even peel back, do it at a diagonal, that's what's recommended. And as I get to halfway through the page, I start pulling the A sheet out as well so that I'm pulling in both directions at the same time. And it should just fall off. It should pull off with like subtle resistance. Like you should feel it a little bit because, you know, it's adhesive, it is pulling back. But if it's giving you a lot of resistance, that means you waited too long. If it's giving you like no real resistance and it's pulling up in like strings and pieces, that means you didn't wait long enough. I use this pressure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lift method. It works for me every single time. I don't know what else to say other than that. That is the method I recommend using. Don't rush it because you're trying to give it a solid 4 to 5 seconds. It works for me every single time. Okay. On your instructions, it's going to tell you to observe the B sheet. And I think it is coming up on camera. You can clearly see where the adhesive has been taken off of the paper. The main reason you would observe this is to look for any pieces that of your toner that got stuck in here so that you would know that like that particular transfer had an error or wasn't usable. Usually your toner would be in full color, but since we're doing full white, we don't have the same thing. But we can easily see that all of our lines are nice and crisp. They line up great with our design. That's the sign of a great transfer. You can also inspect your transfer as well. You want to make sure that everything just looks cohesive. If it's not distressed, it shouldn't look distressed. Ours looks fantastic. So now we are ready to go ahead and trim these and get them on our koozie so that we can press our koozies. Once you have successfully married your transfer, you are ready to apply it to your substrate. The first thing that you want to do now is cut off all of your edges and look for any spots where you have some adhesive that might have flaked off or transferred over. This will especially happen where you had that crease with your adhesive sheet. So we don't want that to transfer over to our substrate. And I like to just trim all of the edges just in case. Because we have printed 9 transfers, we will then cut each one of these individually. But if you are doing something that's larger and that's not necessary, then don't do that step. These transfers are good pretty much indefinitely. I mean, I say that loosely, like they may not adhere 20 years from now, but there is a realistic amount of time which you can leave these transfers and they are good to go. Once that adhesive has been added, they are ready. I've actually already cut a bunch of these and I have more printed than I actually needed for this, but I'm gonna hope that I need to print more so that I can use those up. So once you have one ready to go, all you need to do is center it on your substrate however you would like and tape it down with a little bit of heat tape. All right, I'm just eyeballing mine. That looks pretty even. Okay. You don't need a lot of heat tape, you just want enough that it's not going to move around, and also be careful that you don't put yourself in a situation where your heat tape is going to rip as you're peeling off your transfer, because then it's a huge pain to try and get your little pieces of heat tape off. So you can do 1, you can do 2, it's really dependent on your substrate itself. Now, we only need to press 1 today, but you can press as many as will fit on your heat press. With 2-step paper, you have to let this cool completely before you peel that carrier sheet, which means there's no harm in doing as many as will fit on your press at a time. I think that when I tested it before, when I did my first round of koozies, I was able to fit 13 or 14 on there. I could do 4 across, 3 down this way, and then 2, I think, or 3 across the bottom. So I'm printing a total of 50 koozies for this order. This is just my last one that I'm doing with you guys. Let's hop back over to Blue the Fusion IQ. It's really important to read the instructions for your iColor media and use your best judgment when it comes to determining the right temperature for the substrate which you are transferring onto. We're using neoprene, and I did a test, especially because this was dark green and I don't want the dye migration to impact my white logo. And I determined that 280 degrees was absolutely perfect for this project. So we're going to do 280 degrees with medium firm pressure at 25 seconds. We've got our beer koozie ready to go. I'm going to put it right there in the center. And go ahead and close that platen. Now, obviously this is a little bit quicker. As I mentioned before, we do not want to peel this immediately. We want to let this cool completely before we peel off that carrier sheet. And I think the instructions say something like, wait 5 minutes. I'm here to tell you that the recipe for failure is to set a timer for 5 minutes and then try and peel. You will know that your substrate, doesn't matter what it is ready to peel when it feels completely cold, and when you go to pull that carrier sheet and it doesn't really give any resistance, it just sort of falls off effortlessly. That's when you know that this is ready. Anything less than that, it is not ready. So that is my number 1 tip, because the second area that people fail in is actually removing the carrier sheet, and that's why. They see those instructions, they think, oh, I'll just set a timer for 5 minutes. No, don't judge it based on 5 minutes, because you don't know what your climate is versus those instructions. It needs to be cold, totally cold, not just like lukewarm cold, cold. You can even rub it with an ice pack if you want, but that's not really necessary for something like this. It's great for designs that have a lot of small details, and it's great on garments, but something like this, we'll just let it cool completely. It'll just take a few minutes and we will be ready to go. So it has been just a few minutes and this feels totally cold to the touch. A good way to check is just to peel a little corner and kind of nudge it back and see how it's already separating. That means that we're good to peel. So all we're going to do is just peel it off, and you want to be cautious not to be like yanking it off or anything. Just in case it isn't fully cooled, you'll be able to tell sooner rather than afterwards when you ruined it. My heat tape is giving me a little bit of an issue there. There we go. But notice that it just like peels right off, like smooth as butter. That's what you want. That's how you know that you've got it right. Last thing that we need to do is just give this a finishing press. And now the finishing press is going to just really help embed that transfer into the fibers of the material, give it really good durability. Very important step, the finishing step. You're going to want to cover this with either the coated craft paper or T-seal. Now, for something like neoprene, I think the coated craft paper is more than adequate. The T-seal is really great for something that has a lot of texture, like a t-shirt. But I'm going to use my T-seal because there is some adhesive transfer. I don't know if you can see it. There's some adhesive transfer on my craft paper, and the other ones are buried. I have to actually like pull them out. They come in a pack of 25. So I will still use that one for marrying, but I don't want to use it for my post press because I don't want that adhesive to transfer over onto here. And I also don't want it to transfer onto my platen and end up on another substrate that's not related. So we're going to do our finishing press, same temperature, pressure, and time as our first one. Oh, I think I need to increase my pressure. There we go. So 25 seconds, 280 degrees, medium firm pressure. You might have noticed that the pressure went down a little bit after I closed it. That's because neoprene tends to sort of compress. So we don't want to go too heavy on neoprene because that can be a problem, but also be cautious that we're not going too light. 5 or 6 on a digital machine is more than adequate. So when you pull this out, what we want to do is we don't want to like rip this off because we're still letting that cure a little bit. I like to just jiggle it a little bit. Jiggle it and let it fall off on its own. And voila. Just like that, you have finished your koozie. Now this is a 16 by 20 heat press, so I can do 12 or 13 or 14. I'm not quite sure how many I managed to get on there at once at a time, which makes this a very cost-effective project. It is low cost and you can sell it in high volume, and that makes this one of those high profitable type of ideas. It's all about how you market it, the organizations that you target, and so on. It also allows you to create these to use within product bundles that you might create. So if you are part of the subscriber package on the SubThat US mobile learning library app, be sure to check out marketing related videos where we talk about this in specific to koozies and of course incorporating them into other types of projects. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your day.